Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Today I am going to be doing my 17-week pregnancy update. I am about 17 and a half weeks pregnant while I'm filming this. Probably when you see it, I will be almost 18 weeks pregnant. And this is my first pregnancy update, and I wanted to get one done before I'm already halfway through. So I am gonna take you through pretty much the first half of my pregnancy. So this is actually my 8th pregnancy. This will be our 7th baby that, God willing, we will be bringing home from the hospital, but I have been pregnant 8 times. I had a miscarriage in between our 5th and 6th child, right at the end of 12 weeks. So it is my 8th pregnancy. And things are a little bit different this time round. Just to give you a little bit of history, I had 5 normal, healthy, natural births. I did have an epidural with my first baby and my second baby. And then I had 3 after that that were totally natural with no drugs, apart from a little bit of gas and air, which is the stuff you breathe in that kind of makes you go into another world, and that stuff is good. So I did have that with babies number 3, 4, and 5, but apart from that, I had 5 totally normal natural births. And then if you guys have seen any of our other videos, you probably will know that my 6th labor and delivery went really wrong. Our daughter Shiloh was born with the cord wrapped 4 times very tightly around her neck, and it caused massive oxygen deprivation that has led to her having a type of cerebral palsy. So I went from having 5 totally normal, healthy, natural births to having a very unexpected miscarriage that totally threw me off guard. And then a birth that what we thought was going to be just normal and natural again went really, really wrong. I'm going to apologize right now. I have kids running around in the hallway upstairs in the background playing, so I'm sorry if you can hear them laughing and shouting. I've tried to tell them to be quiet, but you know, they want to play. So this time things are a little bit different. Actually, things started changing when I had my 5th baby. Before you have 5 babies, at least where we live in the UK, you're sort of considered low risk as long as you don't have any medical conditions or extremely high blood pressure or, you know, gestational diabetes or something like that. You're considered low risk, and I went into my 5th pregnancy assuming that I was still low risk, and I had planned a water birth. And when I got into the hospital and was in the throes of, you know, the worst part of labor, and thought that I was going to be going to have a nice water birth, we got to the room and the tub had already been all filled up by the lovely midwives. And just as I was about to get in, one of the midwives was looking over my notes and said, "Oh, this is your 5th baby. You can't get in there." And pretty much since then, things have been a bit different just because of the number of children I have. They consider me more high risk. So things like they didn't want me to get into the water because the risk of postpartum bleeding is a bit higher. At the time, I was very upset about that. I had a water birth with my 4th baby, and it was amazing. And you know, I was having lots of contractions, and I wanted to get into that water, and they wouldn't let me, and I was really upset about it. So since baby number 5, I've kind of been on another track where I monitored a little bit more closely, just because of the amount of babies that I have had. Now, since I had Shiloh and that birth went so terribly wrong, I am now considered very high risk. My actual labor with her was totally fine and normal, but because of what happened and the cord being wrapped around her neck so many times, I'm just being monitored a little bit more closely. So what's going on is previously I was being seen just by community midwives, which is what is very normal in this country. You go and you see your midwife every month or two in the beginning and then every couple weeks closer to the end. But this time I am being seen by a consultant obstetrician who is kind of just looking closer at my pregnancy, and they also want to give me some growth scans during this pregnancy, some extra ones that I wouldn't normally get. So here normally they give you a dating scan at about 12 weeks just to confirm your delivery date or your estimated due date, which can be very wrong, as most people know. And then they give you another scan at 12 weeks, which is the anatomy scan, where they look at the baby and they check for fingers and toes, and they look at all the structures in the heart and things like that. So I have had my 12-week scan. My 20-week scan is 2 days after Christmas, and then I am going to be having some extra scans this time round, which I am totally on board with. After what happened with Shiloh, I would really like to check in and make sure that things are looking okay in there before I go through labor and delivery again. So things are a little bit different, a little bit more intense this time. And the other thing is that because I had a cesarean with Shiloh, this time I have a choice between having an elective C-section or having what's called a VBAC. If you are not familiar with it, that's a vaginal birth after cesarean section. So there are small, very, very, very small risks with both of those things. I was talking to my husband about it a couple nights ago, and he was getting a little bit nervous about it, but there are very small risks that something could potentially go wrong in either one of those scenarios. So that's something that, you know, we still are quite a ways away from, but it's something that during this pregnancy we have to think about a little bit and eventually make a decision about whether I want to try for a normal natural birth again or whether I just want to have a C-section. I will tell you right now, I am very much leaning towards having a VBAC or trying for a VBAC because I've had 5 normal natural births before Shiloh. Before my C-section, I have a very high chance of having another normal natural delivery, and that is my preferred route. I really don't like a whole lot of interference. I'm going to be monitored a lot more during this pregnancy, and where we live, there's kind of not a whole lot I can do about it. And of course, we do want to make sure our baby is safe, especially after what happened with Shiloh. But yeah, I have to make a decision at some point, and right now I am definitely leaning towards having a VBAC. That's kind of a little bit of a brief history as to how I have gotten to this 7th pregnancy and what's going on there. As far as my first trimester during this pregnancy and the symptoms that I have had, they are very much in keeping with what I have always gone through, which is during the first trimester from about 5 or 6 weeks to 12 or 13 weeks, I am very sick, very nauseous, and very tired. Thank God I am not usually a puker, so I don't throw up too much, but I just am so nauseous all day, every day. And usually for me that stops right at about 12 weeks. This time 12 weeks came and went, and I was fully expecting that my nausea would stop, and it didn't. And I was really taken aback. I was not prepared to do any more time. And I was like, Lord, give me strength. What are you doing? So anyways, this time it went on a little bit longer. It was until about 15 weeks that I started feeling a little bit more like myself, and my energy started picking back up. And you know, every pregnancy is different, and I guess this was just the one that it was going to carry on a few more weeks. So that's fine. All of those symptoms have now gone. I still tend to get quite tired, which I think is totally normal if you've had a baby or you've had several babies. It's just sort of something that comes along with pregnancy. I think for most people, you get really tired, and you know, I try and take a nap when I can and get to bed on time, but with 6 kids, that does not always happen. So it's just sort of something that, you know, I deal with, and it's fine. I know that it's just for a season, and at the end of my pregnancy, when this baby comes, I'm gonna feel like a new woman. I think there seem to be kind of 2 types of people: the ones who feel great during pregnancy and then really struggle in the sort of postpartum newborn stage, and those who really struggle during pregnancy, and then once that baby is out, you feel so much better. And I am definitely the latter. I really have a hard time during pregnancy. I just sort of feel like, oh my goodness. Usually, especially right at the beginning and in my 3rd trimester, man, it is just hard, and there's no getting around that. But as soon as that baby comes out, I just feel like, yeah, I have my old self back. So that is something that I will look forward to for about the next 20 weeks. I have several notes that I wrote down, so I didn't forget anything, but I didn't even look at them. So that is pretty much the wrap up of my first 17 weeks. I have my 20-week scan coming up that I'm sure I will share with you the pictures. That is my pregnancy update. I will try and do, I'll try and do a couple of these during my pregnancy. But I probably am not going to do one like every week. It's just probably not realistic for me. And honestly, unless something huge changes, there's, you know, the weeks just kind of fly by, and before I know it, I'm at the end and I'm having a baby. So thank you guys for watching this video and for following along in our pregnancy journey, and we will see you in the next video. Okay, so this is my 17-week 7th baby belly. They just get bigger faster. Nothing I can do about it. I usually look like this for about half my pregnancy, and then I get even bigger, right? You don't know. Are you gonna be big sister? Are you gonna be big sister? Yeah? It smells like oranges.